with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Woo! That thing always gets me tickled, man. My son made that for me, by the way. Also, the thumbnail for this show and a lot of the thumbnails coming in the future is probably going to be made by my son as well. His name's Landon Clark, by the way. So just want to give him a shout out for helping me with a little of the technological stuff and helping me out with a few little snippets here and there. We're headed into week 6 of the college football season. Normally, I would say we were at the halfway point, but with the way it is now with a 12-team playoff and conference championship games and whatnot, technically we're not at the halfway point. So we still got plenty of football left. And that makes me feel all great inside because in years past, it goes by like a blink of the eye, like I like to say all the time. And now we have more to look forward to. With the 12-team playoff, more teams are still going to have something to fight for going into November, which is the games to remember, right? November is to remember every single year in college football. Now, today we're going to talk about a few topics. We're going to touch on some of the Alabama stuff that went down this week. Still percolating from the Vanderbilt loss. We're going into the South Carolina game now and what they need to rebound and some comments that were made by Nick Saban, as well as some stuff by Pat McAfee and the Malachi Moore situation, which we've talked about that this week already as well. We'll talk about Dan Lanning's sit-down interview with Pat McAfee as the Oregon Ducks take on Ohio State in the biggest game of the week, I think, in my opinion. What do y'all think? Ohio State versus Oregon on the road. I think it's in Eugene. I think game day is in Eugene, so that'll be a big-time matchup for us to look at. We also have some Tennessee Nuggets. Tennessee loses to Arkansas, and now everybody that had jumped on Tennessee's bandwagon is pretty much jumping off like they always do. Paul Feinbaum, who is a graduate of Tennessee, all of them were up Tennessee's ass this whole year after they beat NC State 51-10. And we all sort of knew, or at least some of us knew, I knew, and most of y'all knew, that NC State wasn't really a great team. Yeah, they were ranked 24th to start the season, but when you're ranking teams past the top 10, it's just a basic grab bag of sorts because with college football, there's so much turnover every year. Now you have transfer portal, so the turnover is even greater. So predicting these and having these preseason polls early on, as a lot of people have said and support, is sort of null and void. You really don't need to have a poll probably until October, just like the playoff committee does their little poll every week. Then we'll, of course, talk about the big one, the big rivalry game of the week. Shouldn't say really Oregon and Ohio State's the biggest game because the biggest rivalry of the week is the most historical rivalry of all time, just about, maybe outside of a few, like the big game in Michigan, Ohio State, the Iron Bowl, Alabama, and Auburn. I consider those the 3 biggest rivalries of all time. Texas takes on Oklahoma, and we're going to pull up a video from Crane and Company. They were kind enough to let me use a clip of theirs, and they were basically trying to allude to some reasons on why Oklahoma may be able to pull this upset. But let's get into the comments here. Let's see who's in the house already. We already have 13 people mingling about. So, yeah, y'all go ahead and jump out, hit the like button, share it to your friends and whatnot, and let's get this party crunk on this Friday night special. I usually don't do them on Friday nights, but I said, what the hell, man? Football's it's gonna be gone before we know it. We're gonna be back into January and February and being bored and shit and talking about recruiting. So I'm gonna go here and talk about football as much as I can, at least through December, right? I also sent a few invites out. Whether they will come or not, I don't know. I've sent a few invites to people if they want to be on the show to give us their input and give us some unbiased takes. Maybe we might have Cuz on here, and we might have an old partner of mine who may come back on here. We'll see. As well as maybe Johnny Johns from the best Van Halen cover band of all time, Nick Halen. Johnny Johns may Sonder his ass up in here tonight. I don't know. I sent him a last minute invite. So far in here we have John Ritchie in the house. He says he The first in just got down to Texas, Boomer Center. I guess John Ritchie is going to the actual game. I wished I could go. Never been to a Red River rivalry game. One of these days I'm going to get down there and try to go. Tatted Sailor's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. It's 1851 on October 11th, and Texas still sucks. 1851? I don't get it. That must be some Red River, Texas, Oklahoma rivalry lingo that I'm not educated on. You have to educate me on the whole 1851 thing. Unless you're watching reruns of Yellowstone or something. I don't know. It's not Yellowstone. What was that other spinoff from Yellowstone? I can't remember the name of it now. It had Tim McGraw and Faith Hill in it. It was pretty good, too. Sooner Ross is in the house. Go Sooners, go Ducks. Yeah. I guess Tennessee let off the gas against Arkansas, too. I guess it did. And what Arkansas done was put on the gas and go right past them into victory lane like NASCAR and Cold Trickle from Days of Thunder. Tobin Bradshaw has poked his head in here. He's a big donor to the show as well. What's up, Outlaw Boomer Center? That's right, Boomer Center roll tide. Hopefully Alabama can get back on track, and hopefully the rash of upsets that happened last week will trickle down into the Red River rivalry. Maybe Oklahoma can overcome a big point spread, in my opinion. 14-point spread is what I'm hearing for the Texas and Oklahoma game. 1989 M's in the house. Posse, we are up in here. That's right. Acknowledge me. He loves it when I say that. Man, 1989 M, we got a special wrestling and football relationship. As a matter of fact, wrestling's getting a lot better here in the last couple of weeks. As you know, Cody Rhodes teamed up with Roman Reigns, if there's any wrestling fans out there, and they beat the Bloodline. And The Rock came out there and was making some kind of weird-ass hand gestures. And so we don't know where The Rock stands. Either he's on the new Bloodline side or he's going to be on Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns side. I'm banking on him being more of a heel in this angle going forward. For the wrestling fans out there, I won't talk too much wrestling because people get pissed off and they're like, oh, wrestling's fake. Quit talking about it. Well, you know, so is the movie Rocky. So is the movie Days of Thunder. All that stuff is fake and scripted, but we watch it for entertainment. The bumps and the bruises in wrestling aren't fake, by the way. When they fall, they really get hurt sometimes. Hopefully we can that show would even up some playing field, wouldn't it? Yeah, you're right. I can't really read that right. NIL Commish is in the house. By the way, check out NIL Commish. He had done a pretty good video today on Lincoln Riley and his skittle shitting transgender volleyball players out there, because you know that's what they're all about out there. You know, they don't sell out their stadium. They're too busy attending transgender volleyball games in Santa Barbara, or either they're out there, you know, taking a shit on the street somewhere. I mean, that's just what they do out there in Los Angeles. But yeah, I am ... Sooner is in the house. Hey, Outlaw, Red River horns down in the dirt. Sooners going to beat up wounded underdog. Texas #1, the first time going. #1 in 40 years. 2 words, Sooner Magic. Well, the last time Texas was ranked #1 in 1984 going into this game, they didn't lose, but they didn't win. They tied, and they got dropped a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, and then they went on to lose a game or two that season. I think Fred Akers was the coach back then. A lot of people give him hell for going for the tie. Can't really blame him, though. I see Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, alluding back to the little wrestling nugget I threw out there. All right. Rowan Presents is in the house. Clapping his hands. Clap, clap, clap your hands together. Rowan Presents. All right. Rick Birdwell's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. Boomer Sooner. By the way, we're getting more people in here already. We're over 20 people, so the comments are going to start flooding in. If you want me to answer a question directly and above everybody else's comments, all you got to do is click on the little $1 sign down here at the bottom Write your comment out, then hit send. Don't hit send first. Write your comment out, then hit send, and it'll highlight it and push to the top and make a small donation to the show. Help us out. Help us keep the lights on around here. Mad Dog Mike's in the house. Hadn't seen you in a while, brother. What's happening, football family? Nothing much, brother. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up a video for you guys. It's Crane and Company. Hopefully they won't red flag me. They tell me they don't seem like they have a problem with me using it, but we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up real quick, and I'm going to get y'all's thoughts on that. This is what they think needs to happen in order for Oklahoma. It's some Captain Obvious stuff, but I still thought it was pretty cool. So it's what they think Oklahoma needs to do in order to upset Texas this week in college football.
Regardless of the spread, Oklahoma isn't going into the Red River shootout scared or intimidated in the least. That's just the way they are and the respect that they've earned and the tradition that they've garnered. But if we're being realistic, their path to victory over Texas is a lot more narrow than it is on Texas's side. For the Sooners to pull off the upset, this game needs to be slow. It needs to be ugly, physical, and borderline monotonous. The script needs to be somewhat similar to what Arkansas did against Tennessee or Kentucky did against Ole Miss. A track meet in this game is a death sentence for Oklahoma, not because they aren't capable of scoring some points or don't have good players on offense, but over 4 quarters, I don't think they have enough to keep up with the Longhorns in a score fest. Now, the Sooners' offense has to stay on schedule. We all know that, it's obvious. But how they handle the clock on each offensive possession can keep them in the game longer.
So what do y'all think about that so far? What do y'all gather from that? Basically, I mean, it's Captain Obvious to me that, yes, Oklahoma probably doesn't want to get in a shootout with Texas. Try to keep the game low scoring. No higher than maybe 31 points, I'm thinking. If you allow Texas to score more than 35, more than likely Oklahoma's going to lose, is what he's saying. Now, watch us say that, and Oklahoma outscore them. Because the way college football's been this year, there's no rhyme or reason. If you're trying to bet on games this year, you're screwed. You're screwed. Unless you got some kind of Nostradamus shit coming out of your ass, and you can take Arkansas and Vanderbilt in some kind of discombobulated parlay, more likely you're going to lose a lot. But I sort of agree with some of that. High 20s, maybe pull it out at the end, maybe a 28-24 game or last-second field goal. But I'm not sure how good Oklahoma's kicking game this year. Are y'all struggling in the kicking game? Because I thought I heard something about your kicker got injured or something, which wouldn't surprise me because it seemed like everybody at Oklahoma's been injured at some point. Rowan Presents has become a new YouTube member. I appreciate the hell out of that, brother. Rowan Presents. Now his badge, and he is deputized. So y'all welcome Rowan in. Next time we do a podcast, Rowan, I will introduce you as a new Outlaw Posse member, and I'll pop your name up on the screen there on the next actual podcast, not live stream. Or I might do it on the next live stream. I've been doing some of the Four Horsemen shout-outs on here as well, but you'll get your badge now. You got your badge. You're deputized. You'll get a random Four Horsemen shout-out on the podcast as well as possibly be the comment of the day as well. So let's get Rowan saddled up. Get him his horse. Sunderall says he agrees with some of that too. OU needs to ramp up the physicality. Yeah, I think, Steve made a comment back in the summer about right after he got divorced. I think he got dipping in the liquor bottle or something. He had said that in a tweet, and they since have deleted it. Steve Sarkisian said that there wasn't going to be none of that Oklahoma getting lucky and winning this year off of turnovers. That this year is going to be different. It was going to be more in line of the 49-0 ass whipping they give Oklahoma 2 years ago. So all I can tell Steve is that y'all didn't really allow Oklahoma to stay in that game. When you fumble the ball and you're forced to fumble the ball, it's a part of the game. It's just like when Vanderbilt beat Alabama. They beat Alabama. Yes, Jalen Milroe had 2 turnovers, but Vanderbilt forced those turnovers. So whose fault is that? Just saying. So if you think that Oklahoma's not going to try to turn you over again, you might be in for a rude awakening. Another thing I think might be key is if Quinn Ewers stays healthy. Now, a lot of people think, oh, no, we're good. We got Arch Manning to come in. Here's the thing for Texas fans out there that think they're not going to miss a beat. Arch Manning, while he's going to probably be a great quarterback one day, he has yet to play a real defense. He played Mississippi State, La Monroe, and some other team. Arch Manning comes into this game cold. Ewers gets injured again because he is Mr. Glass after all. Second time in his career, I think, that he's been out for multiple games. Quinn Ewers gets injured. It might not be a good day for Arch Manning in Texas. Just saying. I know a lot of people going to disagree with me. Oh, Arch Manning's great. He's better than Quinn Ewers. I think you might be in for a rude awakening if that were to happen. Let me scroll up and find some more of these comments up here. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Tatted Sailor says, I agree. Has to do most of our what? It has to do most of the work to keep us alive. The defense, I reckon you're talking about, right? The defense, yeah. The defense has to do most of the work to keep us alive. Yeah. Charles Van says the kicking game is good because I had a question about that. If it comes down to the kicking game, which it might have a situation with a block punt or in which we had one last year with Texas, but it didn't help them win the game. Lance Flores in the house. Hawkins has shown the lights are not too bright and the stage not too big. Hawkins could be the X factor in this game. Yeah, I agree with that. Hawkins has been coming along, and the good thing about Hawkins is he come into the Tennessee game with really nothing to lose and actually led a scoring drive that put y'all back within striking distance. Had y'all got the 2-point conversion there, y'all would have been within a score of tying the game. That's why I don't buy the whole they backed off shit. They keep preaching because I just think it's Josh Heupel getting scared. He don't trust his quarterback, Nico, enough. We're going to touch on that a little bit too. Josh Heupel has suddenly become ultra-conservative, and last week against Arkansas, he tried to do the same shit he did to Oklahoma, and it backfired on him. And Arkansas ended up winning the game with a backup quarterback. It's just like, Tennessee's defense had to face a backup quarterback coming in with Michael Hawkins. Tennessee's defense has been ballyhooed too. They hadn't really had to face an explosive offense yet. Tennessee hasn't. Red River goes to who runs the ball better. Sooners can stop the run, but can't run it themselves. Ewers' oblique strain hampers downfield passing. If I know this, the defense does too. Final play of the game. Yeah, that oblique thing's it's a bitch. It can really be a hindrance. And if that's the case, they might put Arch Manning in. Arch Manning may come in and just show out and show why he's going to be the next greatest thing since his uncle Peyton Manning. But I don't think he will because he hasn't really had to play a real defense yet. I'm thinking he might be caught off guard a little bit if he has to come in cold. That's just my opinion. Could prove me wrong. Could prove us all wrong. Rowan Present says Bama's good this year, but all the pieces aren't together. DeBoer is a winner. All right, let's go back to this video a little bit, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff that we've been talking about.
Run the hell out of the ball, including quarterback design runs. Let that clock bleed and snap it under 15 seconds each time on the play clock. And you'll make Texas get greedy because the more you limit Sarkisian's offensive time on the field, the more likely Texas is to force something to do to you or try and do too much to get it going.
Building your online business?
Look at that crap.
Go to Wix.com and set up your...
That isn't playing scared or nervous. It's playing smart. This is chess, not checkers. And the longer Oklahoma sticks around in this game, the more game pressure and the more nervous Texas is going to get because, after all, Oklahoma is the big underdog heading in.
Stop it right there. I'm going to stop this off and on because if I don't, they'll red flag me and demonetize the video. basically, he's saying a lot of the stuff that we were just talking about. Texas, you need to try to frustrate Texas at first. Maybe make Texas, if you can hold on to the ball, long drives, sort of like Vanderbilt did at Alabama. They frustrated the hell out of Alabama. They held the ball 42 minutes. So when Alabama had the ball, they were forcing it, evidenced by the fact that Milroe threw a pick six and he got blindsided and fumbled the ball, and that basically ended our hopes of winning that game. So, yeah, Texas has a great offense, but if you can just frustrate them, take your time on offense. Well, like you said, wait until about the 10 or 15-second mark before you ever hike that ball. And like you said, it's not really playing scared. That's just playing smart. And in this game, you've got to play smart. This is a big rivalry game. It means a lot to both these teams and to people nationally. Now it's become a big-time national spectacle because not only is it the Red River rivalry and important to these teams in recruiting and bragging rights, but it's going to have a big implication on the SEC race as well as the national race at this point, since Texas is number one. Got another new member joining. Mad Dog Mike is now saddled up and ready to go. He's got his badge and he's deputized. He will get a random Four Horsemen shout out periodically on the actual podcast, as well as possibly the comment of the day, as I said earlier. So y'all welcome Mad Dog Mike and get him his horse and get him his saddle. Let's do this thing. But yeah. New deputized members. Yep, we just got two, brother. Now, anybody else want to join? Y'all join up. And by the way, Big Orange is in the house. Let's call it Big Orange. We're talking about Tennessee here in just a second, Big Orange. Can the volunteers get it done? I like that. The volunteers instead of the volunteers. All right, brother. That's a good one. You got to love a man that can make fun of himself and make fun of his own team. Hey, that's me, brother, but I get in trouble for it. Can the volunteers get it done tomorrow against the Gators, Outlaw? Yeah, I've got a little something on that coming up as well. As a matter of fact, yeah, former Georgia quarterback Andy Murray had some advice for Josh Heupel in Tennessee and what they need to do going forward for Tennessee to get back that moxie that was coming from everybody. The national media and everybody were hyping Tennessee up as being back and in position to go to the playoffs and maybe even win the SEC title. Now that shit's out the window, just like when Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Florida surprised me. They beat UCF by double digits. They dominated the game against UCF. I thought Central Florida may have a chance to go in there and sneak one over on the Gators, who they've never beat. Now, they may have never played them before. I don't know. But that nice little win against UCF may be what they need to build their confidence back up in order to become a contender once again in the SEC, at least maybe try to be a top 5 or 6 program in the SEC, which in the past that wasn't nothing to call home about. But now if you can get in the top 5 or 6, we got 16 members now, that's something to shoot for. So coming off that game against Arkansas, having to play Florida is not the best remedy if I'm a Volunteer fan, to try to get this thing back on track, although Florida's been struggling. Alabama, on the other hand, we had to play South Carolina, who really looked horrendous against Ole Miss. So we might have an easier time of trying to rebound. Now, watch me say that. And I'll be talking about the Gamecocks beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, because this football season has been just like that. Marshall Jenkins has now become a YouTube member, man. This posse's getting big, Killer Breeze. It's getting big, brother. You're gonna have to go down to the the horse shows and get us some more horses and saddles, brother, because I think we're about out of horses, but let's get Marshall Jenkins up in here. He's got his badge and now he's deputized. And you'll get your random Four Horsemen shout out as well as possibly be the comment of the day as well, Marshall Jenkins. So welcome to the posse. All right. Big Orange says Arkansas sent Tennessee to Hog Hill. That's true. Now let me go ahead and finish up this real quick for the Oklahoma contingent in here.
Into this one. Now, rivalry games have a weird way of equalizing teams that really aren't equal. And if Hawkins Jr. can just throw it well enough to maintain some semblance of balance and extend drives, Oklahoma can find a way to win this game. But once again, that path is pretty narrow. If Texas keeps playing complementary football and has a good day at the office with Quinn Ewers back at the helm, Oklahoma is in wait until your father gets home type trouble. But Venables is going to have this team ready and this defense ripping and roaring to go. So to the Sooner faithful out there, the best formula in this game is the ugliest one, the low-scoring one, the one that makes you turn away at every collision. And this team is capable of mucking it up. Let's see if they can do it in the best shootout around. David.
And that's the clip from Crane and Company. What y'all think about that? Ugly it up. Who cares how it looks? Who cares if it's pretty, man? It don't matter. Get the shit done. If you can hold Quinn Ewers to under, I'd say at least hold them to 28 points, Oklahoma might be able to muster up 31 to 35 points to win this game. It's going to be cutting it close. Now, if Quinn Ewers' oblique injury starts irritating him, that could be, and I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but that could be the recipe for Oklahoma to come into a inconsistent situation, even though it looked seamless with Arch Manning. I hate to keep harping on this. He wasn't playing anybody, so we don't know how good Arch Manning is. We're going to find out. I have a sneaky suspicion that we might find out. If Ewers struggles, even if he don't get injured, if he struggles after the way they were ballyhooing Arch Manning, don't be surprised if they snatch him and put Arch Manning in. If that happens, I'm afraid Texas is in trouble. If not, then maybe Texas can get revenge for the game that they supposedly let Oklahoma win last year. $19.89 doing our nice little original nicknames that we have for certain teams. Volunteers being Tennessee, Hedge Pissers. That's Georgia. Between the hedges, you know, dogs like to piss on hedges, and they're in between the hedges in Athens. The Barn Monkeys of Auburn, because they have so many barns in Lee County, and the Skittle Shitters of USC, because we know why. I'm not going to say it, but we'll know why. And then, of course, we have the nice little nickname that we give Shadur, Sakazulu Sanders, because his stupid-ass daddy, Con-Time Deion Sanders, that's right, I said it, Con-Time Deion Sanders, doesn't know how to recruit offensive linemen to block for his son. So that's why his name is Sakazulu. There you go. All right, let's bring something else up for y'all. For Big Orange is in the house right now. Can y'all see that? Right there it is. So what does Tennessee need to do to get back on track offensively? According to former Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray, Josh Heupel needs to take the restraints off of quarterback Nico Amaliva, whatever his last name is, and let it rip in the passing game. I agree with that. Hebert reminded Murray about how Florida gives up 172 yards a game, implying Tennessee may not need to rely on Nico to deliver on Saturday in a big win. Murray responded, it was more about establishing Nico's confidence moving forward. I agree with that as well. But I'm just going to what you said, though, through Nico's confidence back up. I think it's still a good game to start to do that. I hope so, because at some point you've got to stop protecting him, or you're going to lose another football game, if not two. If you're Heupel, I can't even say his name. If you're Heupel, you're not building the roster right now to just beat Florida. You're building this roster, and you're building Nico up to beat Georgia and to beat Alabama. You can't just say, hey, we're going to play conservative and protect Nico versus Florida. Then we're going to roll the ball next week versus Alabama and just go off. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've been thinking that the whole time. I just don't want to say it out loud because I don't want Tennessee to catch on. If they allow Nico to just go out there and play ball, Tennessee could be a real threat to go to the playoffs and maybe even be a top 4 seed. They did lose to Arkansas, and the stigma of losing to Arkansas is not quite as bad as losing to Vanderbilt. So, yeah, they can overcome this Arkansas loss, in my opinion, a lot easier than Alabama can for the loss to Vanderbilt, in my opinion. What do y'all think about that? Do you think that Tennessee needs to let loose the reins on Nico? Now, I think he's a true freshman, is he not? So that might be one of the reasons why he doesn't release the reins. But I know in the Oklahoma game, he got a little scared. And now, in that video, they were saying it's not being scared to, sort of play conservative. But this wasn't just playing conservative. This dude basically just stopped doing anything in the second half and kicked just 2 field goals against Oklahoma and won 25-15. He got lucky in the fact that Oklahoma had to bring in a backup quarterback cold. Had Michael Hawkins started that game, I mean, they may have actually beat Tennessee. Tennessee was dominating the first half. If they had just let loose the reins and not gotten scared, they might have been able to make that game more convincing. But as it is, it wasn't. They backed off, as they said. They backed off. I don't believe that. They got scared. And then against Arkansas, they did the same thing, and it backfired on them. So I think the key for Tennessee to regain their confidence and regain their possible avenue and to maybe being a top 4 seed down the line, because I don't think there's going to be any undefeated teams this year. I think they need to let loose the reins on Nico. What do y'all think? Tobin Bradshaw says he hit me up on Cash App. I appreciate the hell out of that, Tobin Bradshaw. Appreciate your donations, brother. Tobin Bradshaw's down there in the scroll, as a matter of fact, is one of our donors to the program. People that donate to the program on the side, I like to give them a little recognition as well. Lance Flores says, I don't care if OU wins by 1 point or 100 points. If they win, I'll probably drink too much beer. I won't be drinking beer. I might be drinking me some Patron or something, man. That'd be the call for a Patron shot. Not just some of that cheap tequila, none of that Jose Cuervo silver, but some of that Patron silver will be coming out. If Texas loses to Oklahoma, I'm going to be on here live with some Patron, taking shots with you guys and gals out there, the common Joes and the common Sallies in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. That's our motto, by the way. Tatted Sailor says, I also have a feeling my blood pressure is going to be through the roof. Hey, man, it can't be no more than what mine was last week against Vanderbilt. But I will be honest with you, man. For some reason, and I don't know why, that loss didn't piss me off as much as, and I didn't get my blood pressure up as much in that loss as I did when we almost lost to Georgia. Can you imagine having a 28-point lead and losing that game and then coming back this week and losing to Vanderbilt? Yeah. They better be glad they pulled that game out against Georgia, or Kalen DeBoer would have saw the ugly side of my fan base. I don't say that bragging. I say that because I know how they are. There's a segment of them that will run your ass out of town if you start losing some games that they consider unacceptable in losing. And losing a 28-point lead and losing to Vanderbilt back-to-back would have been highly unacceptable. It's just like on the movie The Waterboy when Coach Bouye told Coach Klein when he wanted that playbook, "We'll have that playbook, Klein, or it's gonna get awfully physical around here." It would have got awfully physical around Tuscaloosa had he lost to Georgia, 28-point lead, and then Vanderbilt back-to-back. So he better be lucky he pulled that game out. Rowan Presents says Alabama's going to drop the hammer tomorrow. Boom shakalaka boom. I hope you're right. It's in Tuscaloosa, so we ain't got to worry about playing up in that dilapidated stadium up in Columbia. I don't know if y'all ever been there or not. They brag on that shit like it's something special. It's not. I sat in the upper deck of that stadium, and it was doing this right here. It was swaying. Shit was moving, man. They're like, oh, it's supposed to do that. I'm like, I don't know about all that now. I felt like I was on a damn small boat in the damn Atlantic Ocean or something, man. Shit was swaying. Then they got the cockabooses. What the hell, man? Come on. Then they got saying that you can't beat those cocks. Y'all gonna have to come up with some better stuff, man. Seriously. Y'all's little catchphrases make y'all look a little suspect. Or as they like to say now, the kids and the young adults like to say sus. Makes y'all sus. Their stadium's in an industrial area too. It's not a great place. Now the city of Columbia, I like 5 points. Some of the bars down there, pretty good place. We're ready for a great game, Outlaw Boomer. Appreciate you once again, Marshall Jenkins, for joining the posse. Ducati 1098 says the Cox are about to give it to Bammer. Do tell. Just give me a little explanation on that, other than just saying it. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts, Ducati? Tell me how you think South Carolina is going to give it to Alabama. What are they going to give to us? An easy win? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anything can happen. Fred Bagley's in the house. He has his badge. He's deputized. If OU wins, you go live. I'll do my best. Get my dad on with me. He's 90 tomorrow. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool, man. We get a bunch of people up in here. Get Johnny Johns with Next Halen and Kill Breeze and whomever else wants to be on here. We'll have a big old party. Heath Stokes. Ducati says they're going to hot tour on that thing for Bama. Y'all going to hot tour on Bama's cock? Really? Well, unless you're a female South Carolina fan, I don't think that they'll be down with that too much. But hey, if you want to bring your little Gamecock cheerleaders or your wives or your girlfriends down there and you want to let them hot tour on that thing for us, I'm sure a lot of guys will let them do it. Just saying. Bama going to get cock blocked. Sorry, I couldn't resist, said Senator Ross. Yeah, I bet you couldn't resist. I think some of y'all are low-key Bama haters. Y'all just don't tell me that because you like the way I grill Lincoln Riley and the way I push Oklahoma all the time. All right, so I'm going to bring up another thing for y'all. The big game of the week as well is Oregon versus, by the way, y'all give me your predictions on these games too. Oklahoma and Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, and this game, Oregon and Ohio State. Let's bring this up for y'all real quick and see what y'all think about this.
They're 1 day away from the massive game against the Ohio State Buckeyes. How do you feel? How are the emotions? And how do you think Eugene, Oregon's about to be?
This is what college football is about. I'm really excited for our team, certainly excited for our fans. This is going to be a fun one.
Now, you guys are a wagon, have been for a while. First year in the Big Ten. How has that gone? Obviously, it's your first massive Big Ten test. How has the transition gone thus far, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, we're enjoying it. I think there's going to be a lot of great traditions that get to start from this move for us, getting to play some elite teams and get to be a part of an awesome conference.
Let's talk about your facility. We just walked around it a little bit.
Spaceship.
Dude,
it's pretty awesome.
It is awesome out here. Team meeting room is wonderful. We're rolling some B-roll right now. The wood on the side, can you please tell me about the wood in there?
Yeah, they trimmed it down to where they're only taking 3% of the wood, like past the eye test, and that's what got to be, put up in that room. So everything in this building is the elite of the elite, and that's certainly an example of it.
Yeah, we saw the weight room. Weight room looks amazing. Team meeting room looks fantastic.
Well, all right. Seems like Dan Lanning and Pat McAfee are hyped up for this game. Says in their last meeting, Oregon triumphed over the Buckeyes. It was their first win, by the way. I think they're 1-9. 1-9 versus Ohio State during an early season showdown last year. Despite that victory, the Ducks are currently a 1-4 against the spread this season and have entered as a slight underdog according to DraftKings.com or Sportsbook. Both teams remain unbeaten and anticipation for this showdown set to be televised on NBC reaching new heights. NBC announced that this will be their first top 3 matchup they've covered since 1993, with a matchup between Florida State and Notre Dame, which many called the game of the century, adding to the significance of that matchup taking place Saturday night in Autzen Stadium. Autzen Stadium, by the way, may not have the most seats of some stadiums, but the way it's built and what I've got from a lot of people out there is, acoustically speaking, it's a very loud stadium, sometimes louder than the 100,000 seat stadium, just by the way it was constructed and built, which makes it a huge advantage for the Oregon Ducks. With College Game Day arriving on campus Friday morning, the energy is palpable. The show is scheduled to kick off at 6 a.m., blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, that was Dan Lanning and his thoughts on the upcoming big game against Ohio State. I think, is this Oregon's first home game as a Big Ten school? I can't remember. Y'all let me know in the comment section. But if that's their first home game as a Big Ten school, that's a hell of a way to start, man. It's just like, Oklahoma had to start out with Tennessee at home, their first home, and Texas got Mississippi State. Don't get me started on that shit. Eco Jar's in the house, 30-27. Oklahoma steals one. Eco Jar, where's your brother at? Tell Johnny Johns that I sent him an invite to be on the show if he wants to come in here and quit peeling his tater. Marshall Jenkins says, my pleasure, Outlaw. I've been with the channel since darn near the beginning. I figured I may as well get all the way down. Nothing like hitting that badge, brother. Badge is where it's at. Got to be a part, man, of the common Joes and the common Sal's in the know, because Marshall keeps it real with me. I'll start grilling the hell out of somebody like Con Time, and Marshall, he'll come in here and he'll disagree with me. Some people are afraid to disagree. They're afraid I'm going to grill them or make fun of them or something. Marshall Jenkins is the way you need to be. If you disagree with somebody, I don't care how cool you think they are or how much you like them, you need to just let them know, man. Be honest with them. Say, hey, man, I like you. I like some of the stuff you say, but you're wrong on this, in my opinion. Express yourself. Don't be afraid. Yeah, you better message him real quick, man, because I'm about to get off here probably in a little while. All right, let's go ahead and bring up some of the Alabama stuff that happened too. Then we'll get back to some more Oklahoma stuff. Asked Nick Saban what the problem was with Alabama. More Captain Obvious stuff here. Vandy was 12 of 18 on third downs. Saban said, there's no way that you can win a game like that. That's why I had the ball 75 plays in the game or whatever. You got to get off the field on third down. The good news is you did create 18 third downs, so something got done right before that was probably the play calling wasn't as aggressive, Saban. Now, I'm not trying to question you. I know you're considered to be the GOAT of my team and the GOAT of college football, but you did open your mouth and do some hypocritical shit last week when you said Vanderbilt wasn't a hard place to play. Now, and that's called rat poison, Saban. You provide them rat poison, man. You hurt your former team, brother. Why'd you do that? Yeah, old Saban put some rat poison out there, said that Vanderbilt wasn't a tough place to play. But to his defense, there really wasn't that many Vanderbilt fans at that game, and there never is. Alabama probably had about, I would say, a good 20,000 people there probably, maybe 30,000 in a 41,000-seat stadium. What is it hold now? They're under construction, so they're up in their facilities. Vanderbilt is trying. I think they were 45,000 or something like that. And Alabama had about 25,000 people there. So in his defense, he was sort of telling the truth as far as intimidation goes from the crowd. They probably had to get some Alabama volunteers to help them with that damn goalpost. They didn't have enough fans to walk that goalpost to the river, so they had to get some Alabama fans to volunteer to help them. I would have volunteered. You got to feel good for them. It's been 40 years, man. You can't just beat somebody 100 years straight. Saban also talked the big picture for any teams that suffered upsets. Saban said, I think what you see is a lot of peaks and valleys in college football right now. A lot of teams that have big wins have significant letdowns next week. I also talk about complacency. But if you put a little complacency with a little arrogance because you have a big win and you don't focus on the right things next week, you really don't get the kind of results that you are used to having. When you're not focused on the right stuff, your execution goes to pot in a hurry. He probably said shit, if I know Saban. But that was Nick Saban's take on the Alabama loss. What do y'all think about that? I'll come on your show, brother, anytime. I'm originally from Mobile, lifetime Alabama fan. I was wearing it everywhere, including Germany when I was in the Army. That's right, brother. You got to represent. Glad to hear that. If you don't mind, y'all can jump out of the chat here and smash that like button for me. You smash that like button, and it'll take about 3 or 4 seconds, and then jump back in here because that like button pushes the algorithm, and we'll get more people in this party and get this thing crunk going on into this Friday night, the day or the night before big week 6 in college football. We're almost to the halfway point, not quite, but let's just enjoy this thing. And we waited 9 months to get here, and we're already wishing the season away. I see people doing that shit all the time. Man, I can't wait till the end of the season. Wow. Why would you want to wish the season away, man? We've been waiting 9 months. Let's enjoy this shit. Even the Vanderbilt upset, let's enjoy it. And Rowan, if you want to be on the show, add me on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark. It's spelled Jesse without an I. Paul's the wrong name. I'm going to fit the stereotype of someone who can't spell from Alabama. Anyway, Jesse without the I. Hit me up on Messenger. Add me as a friend if you want to on there. Or you can hit me up on DMs on Twitter, now called X, at OCF Productions. Also, if y'all want to donate to the show, y'all can do like Tobin Bradshaw did earlier as well. You'll see in this scroll down here at the beginning, you'll see my cash out. If you want to cut YouTube and the middleman out so they can't go in and just rob me and take 30% of my donations like they've been doing. I guess I shouldn't be saying that. They don't have to pay me to do this. So I'm not going to look a gift horse mouth. My apologies to YouTube. Anyway, David Orwig's in the house. I hadn't seen him in a while. What's wrong with the Tide defense? Why didn't they shut Vandy down? Well, man, I mean, you probably have to ask God that because, I mean, the only person that's going to be able to give you that answer would probably be God or Jesus Christ. Why did Oklahoma score more than 16 points on Houston? You know what I'm saying? What I heard, though, all kidding aside, just messing with you, David. What I heard was that they were having problems with the microphone and the helmet kind of deal. You know, they got one defensive player and one offensive player that has the plays coming in on the microphone in the helmet of one player. And I heard they was having problems getting plays in the game and getting called. As a matter of fact, after the game, a few of the defensive players for Alabama complained about that the plays were being called too late and we're not getting in time, which comes back to coaching. So basically, if we want to blame it on something, we just got to blame it on coaching. In my opinion, people are still getting used to that whole microphone thing in the helmet because we had problems with that earlier in the year with some of the quarterbacks. They even had one coach was talking about that he would just rather do away with the microphone. I think it was Clark Lee of Vanderbilt. Clark Lee of Vanderbilt said that he just prefer not to have the microphones in the helmets because they're still having to learn this shit on the fly. Those microphones weren't instituted into the helmets until like fall practice, and people only got to try it out twice. So now you're seeing people having issues with getting plays into the game sometimes. Sounds like an excuse, but it could explain why Alabama was out of position a lot on just simple high school option plays. So that might be your explanation that you're looking for, David Orwig. Let's go ahead and bring Johnny Johns in the house. He's part of the best damn Van Halen cover band of all time, Next Halen. Check those out. Check those guys out if you don't mind. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up? I was going to say the lead singer, but I don't know your position on that band. So I don't know if you're the lead singer, the drummer, or the guitarist, or what.
No, I'm the drummer. Hey, every now and then, if my singer's a little too drunk, then I may have to lead sing a few vocals here and there. That does happen.
If I ever come and hang out with y'all on the tour bus, and if I get liquored up enough, I might get out there and sing with you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, definitely. You could sing.
I did karaoke one time, and I sang "Friends in Low Places."
Nice.
But go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, you could. Oh man, I'm just now joining on. My little brother called me and he had told me about. He said you were live, and I was like, man, dude, I'm missing it. So I coming late to the party. I heard you talking about Alabama and the defense and all that.
Yeah,
I know that.
I started the show off with Crane and Company. I used one of their clips. They were talking about Oklahoma and what they needed to do to win this game. Was basically talking about how they need to play ugly, not be scared. Just it's not being scared if you're playing conservative, being smart. Josh Heupel tried to play it like that's what he done against Oklahoma. That's not what he done. He was scared. He just didn't want to fumble because they done fumbled the ball a couple of times, and Oklahoma just happened to give it back to him. Now I think you done that.
Right.
I think you done that in the Arkansas game, and you see what happened. So,
that's exactly what I said, man. I'm like, dude, that whole like, right? Well, it's like, yeah, he purposely. The Tennessee fans like, dude, he wasn't scoring on purpose. Well, he continued doing that against Arkansas, so he kept up with that game plan for most of the game against Arkansas, especially the first half. I was like, hey, are y'all still like purposely not scoring? What's going on here, guys? Them Tennessee fans were mouthy too, dude. God, they were mouthy. I haven't heard much out of them though this week at all.
Yeah,
but yeah,
amazing, man.
Dude, and the deal with Alabama, I was just talking to a guy that listens. He listens to your channel a lot, and he listens to ours too whenever we do videos. But he was asking me about Alabama literally like probably an hour ago or less, and he's like, man, what do you think's going on with Alabama? And some of the fans want to fired Kalen DeBoer. I'm like, dude, fire Kalen DeBoer because of one game? Like, are we really going to act like he didn't just beat Georgia? Are we really going to act like he didn't? Did you see what he did against Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley and Dan Lanning? Like, he wins the big games. He screwed up and they lost. It felt like to me that Alabama went into that game, and I'm sure they were coming down from the game against Georgia, this hard-fought game. It's a huge win. And in the first half of that game against Georgia, they looked like the best team in the country. In the second half of that game, it started to get away from them a little bit. And I don't know if they were just dealing with a hangover from that game on top of the fact that nobody, including them, ever thought that, Vandy would have a chance to win that game. And up until the very last couple plays, I still didn't think Vandy was going to win that game. We were actually watching it on the tour bus. And my driver, who's an OSU fan, and quite a few of the guys on the bus, they're cheering for Vandy. And I'm like, man, my guy, Outlaw, he's an Alabama fan. I don't want to see this happen because he's an Alabama fan. He roots for our team. I'm rooting for his. And I said, and I think Alabama's still going to pull this out. And they're all, cheering for Vandy. And I just knew it. I'm like, trust me, guys. Alabama is they're fixing to make it a 5-point game right now. But it just come down to it, dude. Too many mistakes. The turnover that Milroll had. Everything had to go perfect for Vandy to barely win that game by 5 points. Like everything had to go their way in order for them to win it, and a lot of it went their way. And it happens, dude. It reminds me of us losing to Kansas last year. Sometimes it's just college football for you, man. It happens. We'll see what they do.
There's a stigma attached to Kansas and Vanderbilt. They've been bad for so long. It's almost like losing to a Division FCS school or something.
Yeah, it is. I know.
People they're like, oh, you lost to Vanderbilt and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, Vanderbilt. Y'all realize this. Vanderbilt and Kansas are actually in power conferences. So it ain't like we got beat by a G5 school or a Division I AA school. Notre Dame got beat by a G5 school. To me, losing to Northern Illinois is a lot worse than losing to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, especially
since they beat
especially exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say. I mean, it's a Vandy team that beat Virginia Tech, and I know Virginia Tech ain't great, but this is going and beating Virginia Tech. That was a huge win for Vandy. It's the same Virginia Tech team that a lot of people think should have beat Miami. Some people think it wasn't, but regardless, it was a close game they had with Miami. And this Vandy team, I'll tell you what, dude, I'm glad we don't play them because they're a team that can beat you. And if you beat them, then you did what you're supposed to do against them. And then there's also that chance you can get beat by them. I'm so glad Texas gets to play them. And so
they get to play them in Nashville.
All right.
Yeah, and technically speaking, Vanderbilt owns Texas. They're 8-2 against them. So
they are. I know it. I've seen that. I thought it was 3-7. Maybe it is 2-8 or whatever.
Maybe.
But yeah.
I know Alabama's 2-8 against Texas. But that was from
Are they really?
Yeah, way back in the 19 teens, in the early 1920s.
Right.
Alabama, Texas, Vanderbilt, a lot of other Texas schools. They were all in this big ass conference called the Southern Conference. It's like 22 teams. And that's when, they run up them wins on Texas, and that's when Texas run up their wins on us. So it's a little misleading.
Right.
But your brother Eco Jar's got a comment for you. What happened to Alabama and many other teams is what I call the NIL effect. It has spread talent more thin across the country. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do think that it's making some of the big schools are not able to hoard talent like we used to be able to. And it's definitely it's been a wacky year of college football, and I got to blame it on something. I guess blaming it on the NIL is and the transfer. It's the combination of both, the NIL and the transfer portal. The two of them together, you're able to pay players and they're able to transfer and play right away. It's just turned this whole deal into like a fantasy draft. There used to be a thing on the video game where you could put all the players into a pool and then you just redraft all the players that are in there. And it's almost what it kind of reminds me of with college football nowadays. It's just it's kind of scrambled everything. And I never thought I'd ever see the day that Vanderbilt would beat Alabama, especially number one Alabama, not like an Alabama on and off year. Like
That's
number one Alabama just beat Georgia, Alabama. Like I never thought I would see that. And then Tennessee goes down. Miami almost went down. It's wild.
When Vanderbilt beat us in 1984, that was Ray Perkins' second year at Alabama after the Bear Bryant regime, and we went 5-6 that year. So
exactly.
Normally Vanderbilt don't beat us when we're really good. It's when we're down, but not this time. And well, of course, we don't know how this season's going to play out either, so I shouldn't really say that. But they actually beat them on September 29th, 1984, which is on my birthday. They beat me on my birthday on homecoming. They brought me some trauma, man. Traumatized me again.
Bastards. Yeah, that's my whole. And they were like 0-60 against top 5 teams.
Not anymore.
And yeah, now they're 1-60, I guess. But I mean,
Maybe they'll
Yeah,
beat Texas too. Maybe they'll beat Texas when they're in the top 5.
I hope. Dude, I'll be actually rooting for them then. But it's part of college football. It happens, man. I remember every year my OU Sooners would do that every year. So, and dude, we've seen it happen in the past. I ain't gonna lie. Nobody. I wonder how many people's parlay cards were jacked up from Tennessee and the Alabama, and then what was it? Ole Miss went down, and Missouri, and then Miami almost went down. USC went down. So many schools. The good thing is you guys wasn't the only ones. Like there was a bunch of them that went down.
Let me throw this parlay at you because you're a betting guy. You'll like this. What if someone took, who was it? Minnesota, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas in parlay last week? They would have made some big ass money, right?
Yeah. I mean, they would have. Because they would have won outright, you know. But if you would have individually bet on those games, like bet it straight up against the odds, God, yeah, they would have probably been able to retire if they would have bet against the odds. But
do they provide you a way of betting like straight out wins? Like you don't just think that Vanderbilt's going to cover the 23. You think Vanderbilt's going to win outright? Do they give you more money for betting it like that?
I think so. I know in Vegas they got all kinds of ways you can bet. The ones I play are just betting against the spread, and you got to pick. You know, if you even picking 3 teams against the spread is pretty hard, but it pays like if you put $10 on 3 teams and they win by the spread, you'll win like 60. So $20 would win 120. But if you wanted to pick like 10 teams, then it pays like $300 to 1. So $10 would win you $3,000 if you could pick 10 out of 10 by the spread, which is super. Like, I mean, it's so hard to do that because I'll pick like just 3 or 4 of them, and I swear to God, every time I'll win. Like if I pick 4, I'll win 3 out of 4, and then if I pick 3 of them, I'll hit 2 of them, and then there'll be 1 of them that barely screws me. All the time, I'll get screwed by 1 game. But those are the ones I've been playing. It's just the parlays where it's you got to pick 3 or 4 or 5. You can go all the way up to 10. But
if you got a, let me read this comment. Fred Bagley's he's got his badges deputized. Parity is getting here faster than some thought it would. Going undefeated is going to be very rare. I really do think that there might be a bunch of 2-loss teams this year in the top 12. I wouldn't be surprised if even some of them have 3 losses.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It's going to be it's getting more and more difficult for someone to go undefeated.
I ain't seen Killback first in a while. He's got his badge. We're getting a lot of badges tonight. Vandy quarterback's got nerves of steel. Reminds me of Josh Heupel when he was a quarterback at Oklahoma.
Yeah, Josh Heupel won more than one big game. Like,
That's right.
I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people are going to admire him and what he did. And he had a great game. Trevor Knight had a great game against Alabama too, and then he didn't do shit after that.
Vanderbilt's going to run into the same thing that Alabama ran into after a big win. Let's see if they can beat Kentucky now.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Kentucky's got a good ass defense now. A lot better than ours.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. This is the most interested I'm gonna be in Vanderbilt and Kentucky that I ever can remember. I'm actually interested to see what happens with that game.
That's like a basketball game that you might want to watch.
All right. It's ass backwards.
So earlier, Crane and them were talking about what it's going to take for Oklahoma to win this game. Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, what do you think Oklahoma's got to do to win this game against Texas?
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot OU has a game tomorrow.
Oklahoma play this week?
Man, I hate it that Burks isn't playing, and I was hoping that maybe Andrew Anthony or one of them would come back. But, yeah, we have all 5 of them out again. I think it's going to take not only – there was one year our defense got like 3 touchdowns on defense. I want to say it was 2011 or 2012, one of those 2 years. we're going to need our defense to get some touchdowns. We're going to need maybe like a punt return touchdown. We're going to need the defense to play really well. And it's not like well, we're losing receivers, but we still got our running game. That running game has been really bad all year. Like, I don't really know who this offense is. They haven't had much of an identity, and with Michael Hawkins in at quarterback, at least the identity is like, well, he'll play good in the fourth quarter. And it's like he can. I don't know if it's just they didn't take the training wheels off of him until the fourth quarter, but somehow in the fourth quarter, that guy just all of a sudden lights it up. So I hope that this is the game where I think we're going to need Michael Hawkins to play like a superstar, which is so much to ask of a true freshman quarterback. And then the other guy is the Taylor Tatum, who is also a true freshman running back. So we're going to need the true freshman running back and the true freshman quarterback to come in there and save the day, because there's no Burks, there's no Anderson, there's no Anthony, there's no Dylan Gabriel. He's gone too. And so that's what we're going to need. I mean, I'm trying to look at ways that I can see us winning this game and being realistic, not being like, miracle or dreaming. And the only thing I can think of is the defense has got to play good, maybe get a pick six, maybe get a fumble recovery. And then we're going to need it'd be nice if we could get a running game going. Like, could the running game finally show up? That would be nice. Maybe the Hester and Petaway.
Texas' running game hasn't been that great this year, has it?
No, and they're missing their running backs are banged up right now. They've got a similar situation at running back that we've got going on at wide receiver. I think they got 3 running backs that are out, and one of them that's like questionable. So they've definitely. I'm going to guess that they're. At least they've been able to move the ball downfield, throwing the ball, and then. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of glad that Quinn Ewers is playing. I know he's played in a ton of like big football games. He's played 2 games against Bama. He's went on the road and beat Michigan. He's played in a playoff game. He's won a conference championship game. He's played in a ton of big games. But I'm kind of glad he is playing because he can't run like Arch Manning. Yeah. So I guess if I had to pick, we're getting the guy in there that I would like for us to have. But if we win, it's going to be a low-scoring game, like something where we can somehow win it 23-13, or maybe, God, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to think of a way we could realistically win this game.
I sort of took the opposite approach of what you took on the quarterback situation. A lot of people think that, Quinn Ewers can't go or he gets hurt again. We're fine. We got Arch Manning. My thing with Arch Manning is, to me, he's been spoiled by the teams he's playing. He's playing La Monroe and Mississippi State. So he really hasn't had to go up against a real good defense yet. So to me,
no, you're right. That's true.
It's misleading in the fact that he has the Manning name. They automatically assume that he's just going to come in cold, which is what's going to happen. If he comes in the game, he's going to come in cold. And
right.
I don't know, man. He hasn't seen that kind of defense. It might be better if Quinn Ewers for some reason can't go and y'all get a hold of Manning. Who knows?
Yeah, he don't have near the experience that Quinn Ewers has. Quinn Ewers has played in a lot of big games, and he's won some, he's lost some, but he's played in a bunch. And but no, what you're saying with the whole deal with Arch Manning, he's looked good against terrible competition. It kind of reminds me a lot of that Tennessee quarterback. The first 3 games that they had, everybody was putting him up as a Heisman finalist, and who was it? Kent State and Chattanooga and NC State, and it's like, well, it's the same deal with Arch Manning. Neither team was against anybody worth a shit at all. And then Mississippi State, they played somebody like UNLV and got beat a little bit worse than Texas beat them. So yeah, there is a window, man. There is a way, and I know right now. I know there's going to be some OU fans that are probably upset with me. Like, really, Johnny? You're thinking we don't have a chance? No, we have a chance. Everybody has a chance in this game. Like, anybody can win this game.
Yeah, Vanderbilt showed that.
Exactly. If Vanderbilt can beat Bama, I mean, you're talking about Bama, who just beat Georgia, who going into last week was like unanimously the number one team in the SEC, and they play a team like Vanderbilt, which I guess we can't say they're the worst, but they're one of the worst because Mississippi State probably takes the crown on that. But they're one of the least talented teams, and they were able to somehow beat Bama. This league is pretty – God, man, this league, it really is a league where anybody can win on any given day. So, yeah, and this is a rivalry game. What I hope happens, man, is we just can't have any stupid penalties and stupid turnovers, man. We need to make it where they're the ones having the turnovers and the penalties, and we'll win it. But I'm hoping Sooner Magic shows up, and I'm hoping Michael Hawkins is like licking his chops, like he's waited his whole life to play in this game. He's dreamed about doing it. He's finally going to get to go out there and play the game that he's probably dreamed about playing in forever. And I hope he shows up and
well, Mississippi State did play him tough. Mississippi State was right there with them up until the latter part of the third quarter. Mississippi State's horrendous. Like you said, they lost to Toledo at home.
Toledo, that's who it was.
It's 41-17. Wasn't even close. And Larry Twicki brings up something that I forgot about. He says now everyone is talking about Colorado, and he wants to know if Kansas State's going to beat Colorado. I think Kansas State can beat Colorado, but Colorado's avenue this year, this time last year, they were 4-1. Everybody was up Deion's ass. Well, here they go again. They all sucked up his ass like a damn bad enema. And I'm just saying, but they got an easier path this year, in my opinion, to actually catching up and getting a couple of wins. Last year's Pac-12 in their final season was a tough conference. It was a pretty tough conference last year. And
it was.
He had a harder road to hoe at the end of the year last year. And his conference schedule is getting tougher this year, but I still don't think the Big 12 is as good as the Pac-12 was last year. So I think he might be able to squeeze out maybe one or two more wins and maybe go 6-6.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I do too. Whether he wins this one or not, I think he's probably going to win a couple more. They've been playing a lot better the last few weeks. And it lets you know that, at least it lets you know we are real on here. Because, hey, when the first couple weeks they didn't look so good and we said they sucked. And they've been playing a lot better and we've given them the credit.
Yeah, I hate giving Time any credit.
Right, but you did. You gave him the credit, when I was on here, I think last week or the week before. And I've been the same way. I've given him the credit. They've looked a lot better the last few weeks. We'll see if they keep it up. I mean, Kansas State is that kind of team that I don't know, man. They beat the piss out of OSU a few weeks ago. Is it at Kansas State or is it at Colorado?
Colorado.
It is in Colorado. I wouldn't be shocked that Colorado did win it, but
I would be more confident in Kansas State if they hadn't got blowed out at home by BYU.
Right.
They got beat 38-9.
Yeah.
If they just lost that game, it wouldn't have been a big deal. They just got upset by BYU, but they got beat down at home, 38-9. Right. BYU is undefeated. So
after they beat down OSU, who somehow beat Arkansas, who somehow beat Tennessee. I mean, none of it makes any sense.
Make any sense, man. Georgia State beat Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and Alabama beat Georgia.
Right.
I told the Georgia people. I told the Georgia hedge pissers that were running up in here and said, y'all lost. I'm like, well, y'all lost to the team that lost to Vanderbilt. So
exactly.
And Georgia State beat them. So does that mean Georgia State's the second best? Georgia State's the best team in Georgia?
That's exactly what that means. Not
since they're playing none of it. You can't do comparative scores like that, man. Just don't do it.
Not in college football. Maybe in Little League or something. Maybe you can. Maybe middle school, high school. But damn sure you can't in the SEC and the Big 12. And it's all wild this year, man. This reminds me a lot of that 2007 season, man, where everything was just wonky, dude. It's weird. I can't describe it. Everybody's parlays.
Since y'all not in the Big 12 anymore, and I sort of sometimes sense from Oklahoma and Texas people sometimes that y'all still have some, lingering feelings for the Big 12, because I'll make fun of the Big 12 sometimes and they'll be like, hey, stop. They're getting on to me and shit. And Kuz, who comes on here sometimes from Kuz's corner, this West Virginia guy, he gets mad at me when I say this because he's always bragging about the parity in the Big 12 now. And I'm like, yeah, y'all got parity, but it's mid-card parity.
Yeah, it is.
Talk about the SEC's top heavy. No, we're not. We've had 6 with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas now. We got 8 former national champions in one conference. 8, right?
Right.
So we have championship parity, and y'all have mid-card parity.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it, dude. They're definitely not on the level of the SEC at all. They're not even close. And no doubt about it.
Y'all not pulling their weight like y'all have in the past.
Right. There was a time, dude, like in the early 2000s and the 90s when Nebraska was good, Oklahoma was good, Texas was good, A&M was scrappy, even Colorado had some good years, and Missouri had good years.
A&M wasn't no joke under R.C. Slocum.
Right. I mean, there was a time when the Big 12 was tough. But if you think about all those teams I just mentioned, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, well, how many of those teams are still in the Big 12? Well,
you took
Colorado.
They took 3 blue bloods from them.
Right.
Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. Well, I don't know if you consider Texas a blue blood. My bad. 2.
I mean, yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean they have won three natties, I guess, 3 or 4 natties. They're definitely a big brand for sure, and they're an economic freight train. So is Nebraska, even with the losing seasons. But yeah, Big 12 is definitely, it's called the Big 12, but it isn't nothing like it was in the early 2000s and 90s when they were actually a good conference. Like the Big 12 was actually good back in the day. And winning the Big 12 was actually something you could brag about. And then I remember when it all of a sudden got to where it wasn't. And I remember, man, I hated having to admit, like around 2012, 2015, I hated having to admit, damn, this is a really, really weak conference. Like, we can no longer brag that the Big 12 was a tough conference, because even in 2008, I could still kind of brag about how this is a pretty tough conference. Like, Missouri was good, Texas Tech was top ranked, Texas Longhorns was, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, even OSU may have been top 15. Nebraska was decent when they had that running quarterback that was pretty good. 2009, Nebraska was pretty good. They had Ndamukong Suh. And I could still brag that, like, the Big 12's pretty scrappy conference. But 2015, it was officially over, man. That conference in Texas was also down, which when people talk about how many conference titles we got, which was like 50, I'll give it to them, dude. If you want to say the 2015 through the, like the 6 in a row that we won from 2015 to 2020, I think it was. Yeah, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All those definitely, we won those in a weak conference, no doubt about it. But the other 45 of them, it was a pretty tough conference.
Yeah, I think the beginning of the end for the Big 12 as being considered a tough conference, like you said, was around when Texas A&M, Missouri, Nebraska, and Colorado all left at the same time. Yep. And then Texas and Oklahoma left, and to me, that was just a death blow. I thought y'all were done. I thought y'all were going to be like the Pac-12. Pac-12 messed up by not going and raiding the Big 12 and being all snotty about the shit and saying, well, blah, 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 we don't want to be associated with them. Big Ten got in their ear. Them, the ACC, done that infamous alliance that lasted all of 1 year where they weren't going to raid each other's conferences, and then the Big Ten went out there and took the Pac-12 shit. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. What a wild deal.
At the end right there. It was like a 1-2 SEC punch. The SEC basically took 4 of the Big 12's premier brands from them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can consider Missouri a premier brand.
But they were good when the SEC took them. What was that 2011 or 20? When was that? I can't remember.
2011, 2012.
Somewhere in that area. Well, they were actually pretty good. Like they were really good in 2007. They were pretty good in 2008. Like so they were good.
They went to the SEC title game back-to-back years. Missouri.
Yeah, see, I'm not shocked at all because OU played them in the Big 12 championship game. I know we played them in 07, and I think we played them in 08 also. And so, yeah, we had played them. They had made it to the Big 12 title back-to-back years as well. And they were when they had Chase Daniels, and then before that they had Brad Smith. They were scrappy, but thank God they were like a good team that just couldn't quite beat OU. Yeah. So I loved them. I thought they were awesome.
They can't get over the hump as far as being at the national championship table. Sort of reminds me of Ole Miss. Them and Ole Miss sort of like. Ole Miss is that one year they'll be great, win 9-10 games. Next year they win 3 or 4 games. So
yeah.
Since Lane Kiffin's been there, that hasn't been the case. But most of the time throughout history, that's the way Ole Miss is, just like Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember, we were talking about how this year's been really wild, like that 2007 year. The funny thing is that 2007 year, you do know Missouri was number 1 going into the Big 12 championship game.
Them and Kansas were both in the top 5 that year.
Yeah, and they wasn't number 2. They were number 1, and they played Oklahoma.
Didn't Kansas make it to like number 2 or 3 that year?
I think so. Yeah, and see that Kansas didn't have to play Texas or Oklahoma that year, and I think they had to play they did have to play Missouri because they were both in the North, and I guess that was their one loss all year long, and they ended up going to an Orange Bowl. And as a matter of fact, I think they beat Virginia Tech if memory serves, and they ended up finishing like 13-1. So yeah, they probably were number 2.
So they might have been Wake Forest or Louisville. I can't remember, but yeah. It was one of those ACC teams. It was a wacky-ass year because you got Kansas and Wake Forest and Missouri, and West Virginia was up there too. West Virginia,
yes, they was.
They lost that game to Pitt, and it knocked them out of the national title game. And LSU backed in with 2 losses and played Ohio State and beat them.
That's right. They had that West Virginia had that left-handed quarterback, Pat White. Was that his name?
That's right.
Yeah, Pat White. And then they had a running back that was real good. Yeah, West Virginia was good back then. They kicked our ass, actually. You know what? That's who we played in the bowl game that year, was West Virginia, matter of fact. And, they whooped our ass. I mean, they didn't beat us. They didn't smoke us, but, like, they beat us by maybe 10 points or something. I can't remember. Maybe 2 scores.
Well, at least I know Thunder OU Sooner don't have any lingering feelings for the Big 12. He says the Big 12 refs screwed Oklahoma for 2 years before they officially joined the SEC, so the Big 12 can suck it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really. I hate using officials as an excuse because I feel like, dude, if you lost the game by 1 play, then maybe you wasn't good enough to win it anyway. But yes, they did. I mean. They screwed Texas also, as bad as I hate to admit it. The one that stands out to me most was nobody held against Oklahoma or Texas that one year. There was like 1 or 2 holding calls all year on Texas or Oklahoma for other teams.
They were putting a screwing on both of you.
They was. And then I remember the OSU Texas game where Texas had like 14 penalties and OSU had 0 penalties called on them. And I'm like, damn, dude, they're not even hiding it. They're definitely showing, who they hate for sure. But it was obvious that the news come out that we were leaving, and then we had to play 2 more years with them.
Terry Sleuth says he thought Kansas played USF in the Orange Bowl, but I don't think it was. I think that Johnny Johns was right. I think it was Virginia Tech. Let me share something with y'all real quick. Right here. because I looked it up too because I didn't know it was Wake Forest or can you see that?
Yeah, barely.
Anyway,
Was it
2008
Virginia Tech?
FedEx Orange Bowl was a postseason football game between the Virginia Tech Hokies and Kansas Jayhawks. So, ding ding, Johnny Johns wins the chicken dinner.
And it was in the Orange Bowl too. Yeah, I barely remember that, but yeah, it was a wild year. God, that was a wild year. And that was a good Virginia Tech team too. They were pretty good back then.
Heath Stokes with $20 donation says, "Love you, Outlaw. Thanks for the invite, Boomer Center." Yeah, I didn't invite anybody tonight, really, to be honest with you. I invited Johnny Johns tonight because I hadn't had Johnny Johns on in a while. It wasn't nothing against you, Heath. I didn't invite Killer Breeze either. I just like to mix it up a little bit and get different folks up in here and get different takes. So I wasn't shunning you, man.
Right. Hey, he can come on if he wants.
Get my Van Halen fix.
Right. Yeah, I know. I hadn't been on since a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
I was on the road last week, so
honestly, I don't like having 3 or 4 people on here. I just like having 2 or just myself. Because then you have people talking over each other. As a matter of fact, the last live stream that me and Killer Breeze and Heath done, I had people complaining to me that we were interrupting each other and talking over each other. So that's another reason why I didn't have 3 tonight, Heath, because people were complaining about it.
Right. Yeah, that is tough when you get too many people on there for sure. And then sometimes it's delayed, like you'll think the guy stopped talking, but he didn't, or it's also the delay can kind of screw it up.
It's tough enough with 2.
Right, it is. Right, I always wait like a couple seconds, and but yeah, it's tough even with 2 people on there.
We had Larry Trowicki in here a minute ago, and I just wanted to congratulate Nebraska on beating those undefeated Rutgers Scarlet Knights last week. Rutgers is no longer undefeated, but Nebraska's off this week, and they get Indiana next week, and Indiana's undefeated. So maybe Nebraska can give a loss to both of those upstarts and put them back in their place where they belong.
Yeah.
They're used to seeing Rutgers and Indiana undefeated, man. This is a crazy-ass year.
It is, dude. It's wild. I mean, it's entertaining, but yeah, it's wild, dude. It's a wild. On one hand, everything's telling you, like with the OU Texas, like, oh yeah, man, OU's going to need a lot to go their way. But who knows? This year, anything can happen, man. Who knows, dude? When we watch that game tomorrow, there isn't going to be anything that's going to shock me. Like, no matter how it goes down, it's really not going to shock me because I've seen it all.
Shock value is gone. Northern Illinois and Vanderbilt, thank you for the shock value being shot to hell. Because it would surprise me now. It would not surprise me if Oklahoma went out there and outscored Texas 63-56 tomorrow. It would not surprise me at all.
I'm telling you. Exactly. Which, seems like that's impossible. But it wouldn't shock me. I mean, we'll be watching it, not believing it the whole damn time, and it'll be happening. But yeah, it's been a wild year, man. And we're not even halfway through it, dude. I mean, if this is any indication of what this whole, imagine what these playoffs are going to be like, dude. We're going to get 12 teams in a playoff. I mean,
I love it in a way because everybody's staying interested longer. Usually
that's true.
The team catches a loss, a couple losses, even just one loss sometimes could screw you out of it, especially you lose to someone like Vanderbilt or Northern Illinois. Your ass is done.
Right. Well, look at Georgia last year. Lost one game at the very end. They're not in it.
Yeah.
We all
know Georgia was probably better than a lot of those teams. Probably better than Alabama too. Even though Alabama beat them, we got some lucky breaks in that game to beat them last year.
Right, and it was a situation where it was like, dude, Texas had got lucky and played Alabama at the beginning of the year before Alabama had kind of gotten their stuff together, and Texas had that win over Bama. Then Bama had the win over Georgia, so it was like they couldn't leave those. They had to for sure put Texas and Bama in there. But then you definitely have to put Washington in there. You have to put Michigan. So it had to kind of go the way it went. It just had to be that way. But it was funny that you had Florida State complaining that they got ripped off, should have been, and you had Georgia fans like, are you kidding me, dude? Who doesn't believe we're one of the best sport teams in the country, which I agreed with them. But then you had it was awesome that they had them play each other. And then Georgia went out there and showed everybody who truly got screwed out of the playoff.
Exactly. I can't stand it when they come in and say, well, Florida State had a bunch of players set out. Yeah, well, I can understand losing by a couple of scores or getting your ass whooped 42-14 or 42-20 or something. That's understandable. But 63-3, man, Appalachian State would have played them closer.
Right. Exactly. It was horrible, dude. It was terrible, man.
And it just shows he lost his team. And by this year, they're 1-5 now?
Yeah, and they continued it now for 6 games more. I mean, it's incredible, dude. I have never seen such a nosedive in football, dude. It's just they what was they 13-0 or 14-0?
It's sort of deserved, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
When they cried, bitched, and whined and complained the whole offseason, man. Even after they got beat by 60, I'm like, come on, man. Even your third string shouldn't get beat by 60.
Exactly. That's why when they're saying these starters were out and this and that, dude, OU is playing with 11 guys that none of them are the same 11 guys from the winning play against Texas. That winning play against Texas last year, none of those 11 guys will take the field Saturday. And we're still not getting blown out by 60 points. I better not speak too soon, though. We do got a game tomorrow.
Hindsight 2020. I hate to keep harking back to this, but you think it would have been better if Dylan Gabriel come back another year and these guys had got a little more seasoning before they took the starting role?
Yeah, I mean, and I know there's going to be an OU fan that's going to put in the comment right now. They're going to say, man, even Dylan Gabriel wouldn't do much with that offensive line. And, maybe you're right. But I don't know. I kind of wonder, would DG totally ruin his draft stock if he would have came back and played for this offensive line with 5 wide receivers hurt? Maybe a guy like Michael Hawkins is the best guy for this team right now, even over Dylan Gabriel, because Dylan Gabriel could run, but I don't think he's not as fast as Michael Hawkins. I think the only way for this offense to be able to score any kind of points at all with 5 wideouts out, and then all 5 offensive linemen from last year aren't playing. So it's literally 10 new guys, and even the tight end's a different guy from last year. I think it has to be Michael Hawkins. And if DG, at first I did think that. I felt like, man, oh God, why didn't we bring back DG? But I don't even know. DG may have just screwed himself if he would have came back to Oklahoma this year with that line and all the receivers hurt. But who knows? With his experience, maybe he would have got something going. I don't know.
I'm just thinking he'd probably be able to pick up on things quicker, check off the line, that kind of deal, a lot better than those 2 guys, him being seasoned and them not.
Right.
That might make a difference. I think that, I think it could have made a huge difference in the Tennessee game.
Oh, damn sure. Yes. Yeah, he wouldn't have had 3 turnovers in one half Tennessee at the same time having 54.
Yeah, Tennessee fumbles that ball at the 5-yard line. Dylan Gabriel was going to score.
Yes. No, you're right. Yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. And that is our only loss. I know it feels like the ceiling's falling in, but we're 4-1, and if DG's in there, who knows? Maybe this team is 5-0, just like they were last year going into Texas. So yeah, it would have probably made a difference. Definitely, it would have made a difference. But I know there's a lot of other people that would argue the other end of it and say, well, but how good could he do with this O-line and these receivers? But I'll tell you what he would do. He would probably do a lot better than a true freshman and a true sophomore who haven't played a whole lot of college football, and he's played a ton of college football.
That's right. John Ritchie had a question for us. I guess they're playing tonight. Who do you have winning, Utah and Arizona State?
I would go with Utah, yeah.
I think Utah's getting their stuff together. I think Cam Rising's actually playing tonight, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's healthy, man. I know going to the OSU game.
I heard he scratched his pinky finger or something. He's gonna be.
He ain't been 100% since he,
That's Mr. Glass right there.
Right. It's been the 2022 season since I've seen him 100%. Like, it's 2024 right now, October of 24. And it's been since 2022 since I've seen him like 100% Cam Rising guy that we all know of, But
since you're an unbiased guy looking in on our Alabama situation, let me run a scenario by you. Since we got Rowan in here, he's a big Alabama fan. He says he's really enjoying this show tonight. I appreciate it, brother. What if Alabama blows that 28-point lead and they don't win that game? If you blow a 28-point lead, people are going to be pissed off, right? And you lose the game.
God.
And then they come back this week and lose to Vanderbilt on top of it. What do you think the mood and the temperature is at that point? If we lose a 28-point lead to Georgia at home and then lose to Vanderbilt?
No, it's completely different than what completely different. Yeah, dude. Because kind of your ace in the, it's like the whole deal is like, dude, he just got a win over Georgia. Like, that's the big deal.
That one touchdown by Ryan Williams may have saved Kalen DeBoer an early exit.
Right. Yeah. And certainly a whole lot of heat on social media. I mean, if he would have blown that lead against Georgia and lost to Vanderbilt, oh, God, dude, that would have been horrible, man. God, that would have been horrible for him. I think he's going to bounce back, though. I really do. I mean, you've seen the guy's record against good teams. Like I remember when he played Oregon last year, and everybody just knew, well, Oregon's going to beat them the second time. They got lucky the first time. Oregon's going to definitely beat them on this game. Washington comes out and just punches them in the mouth again. And there was that moment where you had to admit, damn, dude, Kalen DeBoer and Washington, they're just tougher and they're just better. They're better coached. They're tougher. Their offensive line and defensive line's better. They beat them twice now. And it was that moment I realized he's a good coach. And then they beat Texas after that. He's got a good record against the big teams. He screwed up and stumbled one against one of these teams he didn't think was going to be able to beat him, and it happens, man. It's part of college football. But
when he was in the Pac-12, he had a game that was a real head-scratcher against Arizona State. And Arizona State was an awful team last year. And ended up 15-7 or some crazy shit. And you got Michael Penix over there.
Yeah, barely won. Yeah, he barely won that one. I remember that one.
Yeah. So he just happened to not lose that game. So,
but that is a good question, though. What if they would have blown that lead to Georgia and lost this? God,
this ain't like a scenario where it wasn't close to happening. Georgia took the lead, so it absolutely could have happened. And maybe it should have happened, but it didn't.
Thank God for y'all, it didn't. Thank God for him also.
Yeah, he'd be getting the Bill Curry treatment. I don't know if you know about Bill Curry. When he was at Alabama, they threw a brick through his window.
They do that down there too.
Yeah, well, he says somebody threw a brick through his window. Some people think he's done that and got that done to try to throw some shade at Alabama because he knew he was about to leave.
Dude, hey, I know college football fans are crazy. Like Nick Saban, I've heard him talk stories about when he was at, I think it was when he was either at LSU or Michigan State. I think it was when he was at LSU, and he was talking about like his beginning years there before he won the 2003 Natty. And people was, I can't remember if it was like a thing where they were putting, like calling his home and saying stuff to his family or whatever it was, but they were basically making it clear they wasn't very happy with him. And little did they know he would end up winning a natty, and they would have prayed, little did they know he'd end up being the GOAT. And then same thing, Bob Stoops, man, he lost some games. I don't know. I want to say this was either like the 2014 season or somewhere around the 2010s probably. And he had a few rough years before 2015, 16, and 17, or 2015 and 16. But they went and like put for sale signs on Bob Stoops' front lawn. like Bob Stoops, who won a Natty, had Heisman winners, got us to the Natty all the time. They put for sale signs in his yard, basically letting him know, like, hey, bud, we want you gone,
It's like that old Janet Jackson song, man. What have you done for me lately? Right?
That is it. That is it, man.
Terry
And
Sweet
it's
has his badge. He says season is far enough along, no excuses for injuries and transfers and graduations. The senior offense is what they are. Improvement is possible. Well, I mean, if you get a rash of injuries, you can't actually use that as an excuse, because I've seen it before with my team. We had a rash of injuries one year, and it screwed us. So
yeah, it sucks. It sucks because it's like you're supposed to not act like it's a thing, but like having half your team not on the field is definitely going to make you not as good. I mean, it sucks.
Saban did lose to Louisiana Monroe his first season. They were still called Northeast Louisiana. But what y'all got to realize is Saban took over a team that was 6-6 the previous year. The reason why people are so pissed off at DeBoer is he took over a team that was number one. He got them to number one, and last year they were in the playoffs. They weren't 6-6. Saban didn't leave the program in a decline like Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno did back in the day. They left it in a decline.
Right.
So losing to Monroe, to me, was probably more excusable than us losing to Vanderbilt because Kalen DeBoer basically was gifted the keys to a castle, sort of like Lincoln Riley was with Bob Stoops.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, so he lost to Louisiana Monroe when he was at Bama or at LSU?
At Bama.
It was at Bama. Okay, yeah, because
very first year.
Okay, I knew it was either his beginning years at LSU or Alabama where he lost a game.
Yeah, he did it at LSU too. He done it at LSU too. His first year at LSU, he lost to UAB on homecoming.
Okay, that's the one. Because was it on a Football Life? Nick Saban, a Football Life, where they talked about that?
I think so.
Yes, dude. And I was like, wow, I don't remember that now. Like when you look at it now, you only remember Nick Saban as the guy that won all the big games. And
his first season was always real tumultuous because he's having to weed out all the bad shit.
Right.
So you're gonna have some players not acting right and not wanting to get with the program. So he has to weed the bad shit out and then take a few losses, and then he goes from there. And that's what he done at LSU and Alabama. Right.
Well, maybe many years from now we'll be talking about this Vanderbilt game with Kalen DeBoer. And man, you remember when everybody was pissed off at Kalen DeBoer and wanted to run him out of town because he lost to Vanderbilt? And something you laugh about later,
I'm laughing about it now.
I know, it is wild, dude. I still can't believe it happened either, dude. But it's college football, dude.
David always said if Alabama had lost to Georgia at home, they would probably have come out and whooped Vanderbilt pretty good.
Yeah.
They might have. They might have come out, or they might have been so distraught for losing a 28-point lead that they come back with a little hangover. I've seen teams lose back-to-back games because they lost a game previously that was just disheartening. Sort of like, Oklahoma last year. Didn't y'all lose back-to-back to Kansas and Oklahoma State, or were they separated?
Yeah. No, it was. They were back-to-back. But, I mean, I've seen it work both ways, too. I've seen it happen where you lose one of those games and then you come out with your head on fire the next week. Because if you think about it, when you come back from practice after losing a close game like that, you're all business, man. Like, there's no laughing. There's no playing. It's all business. Like, I can't believe we just lost that damn game. You're more focused. And then whenever you play a team, like maybe they would have beat them by 28 points, like you said. But I've also seen it happen where you lose a game and then you come right back out and suck again. And for OU, it was actually like 3 weeks in a row because they barely beat UCF and then they played Kansas. And I do know Danny Stutzman was hurt and he was like our best player on defense. But we lost to Kansas, then we lost to OSU, and we actually had like 6 turnovers in the, between the 2 of those games that we lost, there were 6 turnovers that we had, kind of similar to what we did against Tennessee. I guess Brent Venables teams are just bad about having turnovers in their losses. Like when we lose, it's because we had turnovers. Like we did it against Arizona, we did it against Kansas, we did it against OSU, we did it against Tennessee. Like there's kind of like Lincoln Riley had a pattern.
The Tennessee ones really hurt. It hurts me to think about it because it's like it were gifts. Like here it is.
I know.
Here's the upset right here. Y'all take this shit right now. We're giving the ball to you at the 5-yard line.
I know. God, it sucks.
So,
but
Jacoby Johnson. I'm not real privy to your roster. Fred Bagley says Jacoby Johnson may do some things that shock the world.
He's that guy. So, okay, I was talking to Kel Gundy on the radio like 3 weeks ago. And now I'm not by any means taking like credit for it because I think it was already in the works before that happened. And but anyway, I had called and talked to Kel Gundy and said, "Hey man, what do you think about Jacoby Johnson moving the wide receiver?" He was a highly recruited 4-star athlete out of Mustang, Oklahoma, and I guess what Kel Gundy told me was that his parents, I said, "What do you think about him moving the receiver because he's not getting on the field as much as a corner, and he plays special teams." And Kel Gundy's like, "Johnny, that's a great suggestion, man. I'm about to send a text message to Norman right now." And he said, "I actually wanted him as a receiver." And his parent and Kel Gundy said his parents wanted him to play corner, if I remember right. And he said, but I wanted him to play wide receiver. And he basically went on about how good of an athlete the kid is. He's like 6 foot something, and the dude's got great speed, size. And he's like, dude, I'd love to see him play receiver. Well, I shit you not, man. It was like 6 hours later, they put out a post saying Jacoby Johnson moves to wide receiver. Now, my family and friends that heard me on the radio was like, Johnny, you did that, man. And I'm like, no, guys, trust me. I'd love to take credit for it, but they were already.
I'm going to give you credit for it. I'm going to say, we called it first over here on the Outlaw. We had Next Halen's.
Right.
We had the man from Next Halen. He called that shit. And if Johnson has a breakout game, we're going to be like, Johnny Johns called it.
Right. But I think they just had the same idea I was thinking of, and I think they already had it in the works because the odds of them hours later, they said that he practiced with the team that day as a wide receiver, but we thought he was going to play against Auburn, and I never even seen him at all. But now it's been 2 more weeks, of him practicing with the offense. So and with Burks not coming back, Andrew Anthony ain't coming back, and Anderson ain't coming back. I would imagine that a guy that talent that he has, and I mean, if you watch his highlight reel, he was a stud at wide receiver, man.
If you're thinking it as a common Joe out there, that there's someone on the staff's gonna be thinking it too.
Exactly, and I know they already were thinking about it, and also I wasn't the only one to mention it. Someone had said that I want to say it was was it Parker, Thune, and all them. They had also talked about it too, apparently. So it's kind of like it wasn't like some genius thing. There's been a few people bring it up, and it's mostly just because we got 5 wide receivers that are injured. And I think a big reason why he wasn't playing receiver is because we had Gibson and Anthony and Peru and Burks and all 5 of the guys that are hurt now. Well, when we got all 5 of those guys healthy, it makes sense that he would play corner because he's not going to get on the field when those 5 guys are here. But, yeah, so the dude that commented on that, man, I hope Jacoby Johnson, that could be our secret weapon. That could be, man, and I'm like a fan of it, dude. I hope it happens, man. I hope he shows up and everybody's like, who the hell is this guy?
Well, Tatted Saylor has his badge. He's deputized. He agrees with y'all. He says that he's a freakish athlete. I've not seen the film on the guy, so I'm just going on what y'all saying. Y'all saying he's a freakish athlete, and Fred Bagley saying a lot of folks said he should have been on the offense from the beginning. Your brother, Eco Jar, says Brent Venables said at a press conference that Jacoby Johnson will be in some packages on offense and possibly defense too.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, that's all they got to do. And I mean, and Kel Gundy, he's like, man, Johnny, that's a great suggestion. He said, the only thing is it takes time teaching someone how to play the position. But my whole thing was, it's like, dude, how hard is it to just teach him a few plays? And even if you just have him have, like a couple packages where he's out there, like how hard would it be to say, hey, Jacoby, every play that you're in, you're going to be on the right side and you're going to run a 9 route every play that you're out there. Make it really simple. What we're going to tell you, the only number you need to know is you're going to run a 9, or we'll let you know if you're running an 8, but we're going to just make it really, really simple, dude. You're running a 9 route, or you're blocking, or you're running an 8 route. And it wouldn't be hard to just make things simple and just, we need you to go out there and maybe catch a couple balls for us, dude, to get this offense going. But and I remember the same thing happened to Mark Bradley, and we had a guy named Andre Woolfolk in the national championship team. Andre Woolfolk played corner, and we had some injuries at wide receiver, needed some depth or whatever. Somehow he was playing wide receiver that year, and he made some big plays for us. But then the next year, we put him back at corner, and he ended up being a first-round draft pick to the Tennessee Titans as a corner. But a lot of people forget, when he was young, he played wide receiver for us just because he was a good athlete and we needed somebody,
David Whitehead said that he played both ways at Mustang High School.
Yeah, and he was a stud, man, on both sides. Like, he was a stud at Mustang, man.
All right, brother, I'm fixing to get off here. Just go ahead and give me your prediction on the Red River rivalry, and give me your Ohio State and Oregon prediction too. Those are 2 big games to me.
Man, I'm gonna go with 34-30 Oklahoma.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Another miracle, man.
I feel like
let's go.
Wasn't it 34-30 last year?
Yeah, that's why I'm going with that one.
That's right. Deja vu for the Horns.
Right, it'd be awesome. And then you said Oregon and O State tonight.
I think
is that playing?
I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
game day is
right. Man, I'm going to go with my guy DG on that one, dude. I mean, I know Ohio State's probably going to win it, but God, I'd like to see my guy DG pull that one off, man. Let's go with 31-28 Oregon.
Sounds good. I'd like to see that. Both of those scores sound good to me. So I'll just ride on your horse on that one.
Right. I'll probably be wrong on both of them. One of them.
Are y'all still pushing your YouTube channel, the sports channel y'all had, or y'all still doing that or no?
Yeah, we're not very consistent with it. I've been coming on the Outlaw more than that one.
All right. Well, tell us where we can find information on your band, Next Halen.
Next Halen is Van Halen tribute band. You can Google it and it'll pop right up.
When's y'all's next show?
We just did Lubbock, Texas. We got November 1st in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Okay.
At
cool.
Ritz Theater will be the next one for them.
All right, brother. Appreciate you jumping on. It's been fun, man. So I'm wishing y'all luck, man. Hopefully y'all hook those horns tomorrow.
Right. I hope so, man. I'm hoping for some Sooner magic.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, brother. You too, man.
That was Johnny Johns from the best damn Van Halen cover band of all time. Next Halen. If y'all are in the Shawnee, Oklahoma area, November 1st, go check them out. Hell, I might even go up there. I might have a little extra money November 1st. Who knows? I might save my money and go to the Alabama-Oklahoma game. What do y'all think? So y'all giving some predictions in here. Fred Bagley thinks that OSU, Ohio State will beat Oregon 35-31, and he thinks that OU wins 28-24. It sounds like my score. I think mine was like 27-23. Oklahoma is what I took. I think it was 27-23. I'll be honest, it's wishful thinking, man. I have a bad feeling that Texas is going to win the game. I hope they don't, but I just have a bad feeling. Fred Bagley says he plans on seeing Johnny Johns in Shawnee. Well, that's cool. Bobby Hanson's in the house. He says Texas will beat OU 40-10. Wow. Damn, Bobby. You trying to make some Sooners in here cry tonight, ain't you? Eco Jar says 30-27 Oklahoma. And Turd Ferguson says that they're going to shut them down. Oklahoma 17, Uterus 6. You thought I was coming in for the OU game? Well, I would if I had the money, but I don't think I'm going to have the money for that ticket, brother. Oklahoma and Alabama. That's probably going to be a pretty pricey ticket, right? Unless y'all can start me a collection plate. All right, unless y'all got something else to ask me before I get out of here. If you want to, you can click on the little money dollar sign at the bottom and write your comment out real quick and send it, and I'll answer anybody's questions before I get out of here if y'all got any more college football related questions. Or if you want to talk to me about Theo Vaughn, Donald Trump asking Theo Vaughn how cocaine feels. You can ask me anything. I don't give a shit. Ask me anything. Ask me anything. Well, all right, brothers and sisters, it's been real and it's been fun. Eco Jar, my next live stream will probably be if Oklahoma beats Texas. I may do a live stream. If they don't, I might not. Sisyphus JWK with a big donation coming up in here late with a big fastball. Woo! $50 donation from Sisyphus JWK. I have OU 38 and Texas 24. I could see that happening. Brother. Appreciate the hell out of that big ass donation, man. You just made my night. And go buy me a bottle of tequila now. But yeah, I could see Oklahoma win this game by a couple of scores if for some reason Quinn Ewers gets injured again. Everybody thinks that, like I told everybody earlier, everybody thinks that Manning's just going to come in and just not going to miss a beat. He's going to, remember, he's going to be coming in cold, and the games that he did start were against teams that were very bad. La Monroe, Mississippi State, not very good teams, giving him false security, false confidence. If he has to come in that game cold against Texas, Texas might be in trouble. That may be the key to them winning a game 38-24, like you just said, Sisyphus JWK. Rowan Presents says, roll, tide, roll. That's right, roll, tide, roll. Indeed. Got to jump back on that horse and hopefully win and beat the Gamecocks tomorrow, because if we don't, there'll be some serious, serious problems here in Tuscaloosa. By the way, I live here in Tuscaloosa. I live about, and this is no exaggeration, about 2 or 3 minutes from the stadium. Well, all right. Love you too, brother. Fred Bagley says, if I get here, get me some tickets. Well, now, that'd be great. And maybe throw a little donation. Maybe get Sisyphus JWK to go with us too. And Johnny Johns, man, it'd be awesome if we could get together, a bunch of us, about 20 or 30 of us. More than that, if they want to come, at a neutral site or at a game, any game, man. Just do a tailgate somewhere. That would be awesome. Eco Jar says OU has a chance to shock the nation again. Well, there's been so much shock this year that I think the shocks wore off. Killer Breeze says OU is always best as an underdog. That's true. Yes, it would be a blast. It definitely would, brother. I wish I could meet all y'all. Y'all some damn good people. Eco Jar says Boomer Center and Roll Tide. And on that note, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.